Welcome back to another edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. And on this edition of Strengthening Oklahoma, it's brought to you by the Winston in Norman. The Winston's got great food, better drinks, and the best patio in Norman. Visit thewinston.com to see their menu or order online. Bedlam Week, Oklahoma trying to become bowl eligible. It's going to take some toughness. It's going to take some grit. It's going to take some leadership, and a gentleman who possesses all of those characteristics, our guest this week, wide receiver, Mr. Drake Stoops. Good morning, Drake. How we doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. Really excited for Bedlam coming up and ready to get this thing rolling.
You know this rivalry about as well as anybody. You obviously grew up watching me and Gabe play and watching your dad on the sideline, so you know exactly what this means. Now you've had a chance to play in it. So, I mean, you've seen it from every angle. What does Bedlam mean to you, Drake?
Bedlam means a lot. Just in terms of being the in-state rivalry that it is. Fans are always really passionate about it. And, you know, whether it's going there or coming here, the atmosphere is always super intense. And I mean, they always come ready to play. It doesn't matter if one of us is ranked, unranked, number one team in the country, the other team's unranked. It's always going to be a tight game, very similar to OU Texas. But just being in state, it means a lot to a lot of Oklahomans, and it means a lot to me personally.
I know it means a lot to me. I know that. And I just don't understand some of these people. Oh, there's nothing on the line this year. No. There's always something on the line, right?
Yeah, there's a trophy on the line. I know that.
Yeah. I mean, want the trophy and you want the bragging rights for a full calendar year. I know that now. What has a week of practice been like? Like, can you see the focus? Can you see kind of the intensity from your teammates as you guys are getting ready for this one?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, I mean, we prepare well every single week, and in terms of it doesn't matter who the opponent is. Coach Venables always preaches that. But especially this week, just getting us to buy into doing the little things right, playing good, disciplined football, and not beating ourselves, and also us leaders stepping up and getting guys to realize there's still something to play for. As a competitor, you want to win, and you need to prepare well to win. So just get them to understand that the season's not over. This game means a lot to a lot of people, and it means a lot to us older guys, us seniors, and we want to go out on the right note. So we've just been trying to preach that and get guys to continually buy in and focus on the little things so that we can have a good chance at victory this Saturday.
No question, man. And it's trophy, it's in-state bragging rights, it's also a chance to be bowl eligible.
Yeah.
And I feel like for some people, it's always a big talking point in the media. Do people care about bowl games anymore? And I say yes. I think guys do still care about bowl games. Not that that's the central focus, but how important is that to continue the bowl streak for Oklahoma and ensure that you punch your ticket in postseason play?
I mean, it's huge. Bowl games are always, I mean, in my experience, bowl games have always been, I mean, a lot of fun. You get to really bond with your teammates and your coaches. You get to kind of take a trip out somewhere for about a week and then, go play a good team that's not in your conference that you wouldn't usually play. So I always enjoyed that aspect of it. And like you said, just continuing the bowl streak. I mean, OU has gone to a bowl game for so many years in a row. I mean, you lose count. So just continuing that success. And I know the season hasn't gone the way everyone wanted it to go, but finishing strong here, winning these next two games and then going to the bowl game and winning that one too is a good way to end the season and bring momentum into next year.
Yeah. So with this Bedlam, it's senior night, right?
Yep.
It's senior night. And really the only question I have is your dad going to wear the jersey out on the field? That's all I want to know. Like, do we think he's going to rock the 12 jersey out there as you're getting recognized?
I was wondering that whether he'll wear that or he'll wear a polo because he wants to look nice. I don't know. We'll see. I wonder if my mom's gonna wear it too. I'm not really sure. I feel like they might try and dress up a little bit because you're gonna be in front of 90,000 people.
I can tell you this: my crew and I will be on the call for the game. We always take shots of senior night. I would be willing to bet there will be a camera on your mom and dad when they go out there with you. So not only 90,000, probably several million at home watching too. So I'll be intrigued. If I'm Coach Stoops, so I'm like, screw it, man. I'm supporting my son. I'm rocking the jersey. I don't care what anybody has to say. So if I get a chance to see him before then, I'm gonna encourage him to rock that jersey.
Yeah.
As far as the game goes specifically, one thing, Drake, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there's been a lack of explosive plays in the throw game. How important is that aspect in this game and to close out the season? You guys have been so close a lot of times, and for whatever reason, hasn't connected as much as you'd like to see. How important do you think that is to close out the year strong offensively, that we see a little bit more explosiveness, chunk plays in the throw game?
It's very important. I mean, you've seen in the wins that we've had, and especially the convincing wins, it's when the throw game is really going and us receivers are making big plays. And that just gets the whole team juice, gets the whole team going, like you said, with those chunk plays. And we've been really close at times, whether it's we're wide open and we have a critical drop, or we run a great route and we're open, and then he doesn't quite have time, or he has to scramble out of it, or sometimes just missing a throw downfield. It goes on all of us, the O-line, the receivers, the QB. We've all at fault at times. So getting that fixed will be a big deal. And then Oklahoma State likes to run a lot of man coverage. So being able to win those one-on-ones downfield and make competitive catches, and then, you make one miss and you're scoring a touchdown. So that'll be really important this week in terms of getting a win. And then just like I said, our team runs off the throw game and those chunk plays. So when we're juiced up, they're juiced up. So it's always really important.
Now you got to have those big explosive plays in the passing game, right? But run game's been pretty dang good lately. I mean, what have you seen from Eric Gray? Because he's racking up some yards, man.
Yeah. No, he's an unbelievable player. Every week he has, over 100 yards. I think last week he had 200, and he became the quickest rusher to get to 1,000 yards since Adrian Peterson, which is, that's elite company. So getting to watch him do that every week is definitely a boost to our offense, especially whenever we're struggling in the throw game, say on a rainy day in Morgantown. Getting to watch him do that was essential to our team, and he gave us the best chance to win. So, hats off to him, and we're going to keep blocking on that first, second, and third level for him, and getting him in space one-on-one with people where he just makes people look absolutely stupid.
4 straight 100-yard games. I think 7 on the season now. And yes, he has been making people miss, and especially second and third level, making people look foolish with what he's doing in the open field. You talked about the man-to-man coverage from Oklahoma State. What else have they shown you on tape? Jason Taylor always seems to have a nose for the football, 25. 5 Kendall Daniels, that big, long safety, seems to really start to be coming on. A couple of guys who you may see in this matchup. But what specifically with some of their personnel, what have you seen from them on tape?
Yeah, especially with the safeties you mentioned, 25 and 5. They're both good players. 25 is a lot more experienced than 5. He's an older guy. I think he leads the team in tackles, so he's kind of their Justin Broyles, if you will. Their leader on defense. They're hard-nosed, always around the ball, always making tackles. I think he has about 4 picks on the year as well, and 5 has, I think, 3. So, they're definitely really good players on the back end, and, I'll be eager to see how they cover him man-to-man. I know they're good tacklers, but in terms of man-to-man, they're going to have to cover the slot, because I'm going to be trying to win those one-on-ones. I take pride in one-on-one.
Now I'm kind of curious. You're an Oklahoma guy, right? Oklahoma State's got a lot of Oklahoma guys on their roster. Do you have close relationships with any of the guys on Oklahoma State's team? And if you do, you guys exchanging some texts this week?
Yeah, no, I don't have close enough relations now that that would be exchanging texts, but I grew up training a little bit with Jason Taylor, number 25. He was a Carl Albert guy, so we'd go to the same trainer every now and then and get some training in and stuff like that when we were in high school. But we don't really keep in contact like that now. So, but I'm definitely excited to see Oklahoma kids having success at this level on any team.
No question. I heard Mike Gundy. So he was committed to Oklahoma for like 7 or 8 days. and then he wound up going to Oklahoma State. And obviously, we all know Kale and Kale's presence there at Oklahoma for so long. I'm curious because I know Iowa offered you Iowa State, and Oklahoma didn't. You obviously walked on Oklahoma. Did Oklahoma State recruit you or offer you anything? Was that ever something you would have considered? Like, what would your dad have said if you would have come home and been like, Dad, I'm going to be a Cowboy. I'm heading up north.
Aspiring.
That's a great question, honestly. No, they never really recruited me, which I guess is kind of surprising considering how many Oklahoma kids they do recruit. You know, maybe they just thought there's no chance that he'll ever come here. That's probably the thinking. But, you know, I would have considered it. I mean, it's a good school, and I mean, at the end of the day, I think my dad would have been supportive either way. But yeah, I don't think they recruited me because they just thought there's no chance he's going to come here. And I'm sure they figured if I'm going to go anywhere in Oklahoma, it's going to be University of Oklahoma. So
I'm guessing it was out of respect for your dad, right? Like, I'm sure even Mike Gundy, and we know Mike, we all know Mike likes to have a good time, right? He can be a little goofy at times. I'm sure he was like, we can't do that. Like, I can't be sending recruiting leathers to the Stoops house.
Facts. Yeah. It'd be weird sitting on him and my dad sitting in the same living room recruiting me. Yeah.
That would be an interesting situation.
Yeah. It'd be something
so, Coach Gundy, tell me how you're going to treat my son and why he should go to school there.
Exactly.
That's good. That's really good. So with Bedlam, give me your favorite, if you have one, growing up, you and Isaac watching games. Do you have a favorite memory from like your childhood? And then obviously your favorite memory as a player.
Yeah, I got a couple from when I was a kid watching the game. Probably I'd say like we were watching Ryan Broyles take a punt return to the house, like 80-yard punt return to the house. He was always one of my favorite players growing up. And then I remember watching Blake Bell throw the game-winning corner out to Jalen Saunders. That was playing Gabe, yeah. And then I remember watching Brendan Clay too in overtime, break like 3 tackles and go score and just throw the ball up, and that was it. I mean, we have won. And so I think that was probably some of my favorite memories. And I always remember the implications the game had. It was always to go the Big 12 championship, you know, it was always late in the season and all of that. So, but as a player, I'd say probably, I mean, 2020 was a lot of fun because I mean, we played really well and we won convincingly, and it was at the Palace at night. And I think it might have been College game day too. It was a really high-ranked matchup. So getting to play in that one was a lot of fun. I had some catches in it and got to make some plays. And unfortunately, last year I didn't get to play because I had torn my groin. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting a chance this year again.
Now, first of all, loved it. All your favorite Bedlams are the ones that I played in. Makes me feel good. But you mentioned that awful weather in Morgantown. Everyone was miserable.
Yeah.
Now, it's supposed to be really cold on Saturday night, right? Like, how do you handle that as a player? Like, you got to keep the mitts warm, right? As a wide receiver. So, like, do you have anything you do to make sure that you kind of stay warm?
Not really. I mean, just getting warmed up for the game is a big deal. And then once you get going, I mean, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Like you don't even feel the cold. Like you get in those drives, those 10-play drives, you come off the field and you don't feel anything. You just got to hope that the defense gets a quick 3 and out, you know, or they're only on there for like 6 plays, because then, you know, you get back on the field quick. Otherwise you start to get a little chilly, but they got, you know, heated benches and stuff like that. And I think the most challenging part is just if it rains, you know, that's when you got to take your gloves off. And now, you know what I mean? You got no gloves on. It's extra cold. But for me, the cold's never been too much of a problem.
He's got Youngstown, Ohio blood running through those veins, dude.
Listen,
the cold
man,
don't bother him.
I hear you, but I'm just telling you, Morgantown was awful. I know we've talked about it already, but that was like the worst weather imaginable for a football game for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't as bad from my hotel in Salt Lake City, Utah. It was a little bit warmer where I was sitting watching the game than where you guys were. All right, should be a lot of fun matchup in Bedlam. Can't wait for that one coming up tomorrow night. Let's get to some fan questions. The fan questions always brought to you by Love's Travel Stops. Visit loves.com for more information on the nation's leading travel stop network that's headquartered right here in the great state of Oklahoma. Phil H. wants to know, we asked favorite moments from Bedlam, but Phil H. wants to know, what's your favorite moment of the season, Drake?
Let me think. Of this season, probably just the Kansas game altogether. I mean, bouncing back from having 3 losses against a really good ranked Kansas team and throwing the ball really well and having some explosive plays myself and getting the ball quite a bit and just watching our team you really come out with a lot of fight, and especially on offense, we played so physical that game on the perimeter, and it was just a lot of fun catching the ball, blocking for my teammates, watching them score, celebrating with them, and then just getting a win at home. That was probably my favorite part of this season in terms of emotionally, just really, really feeling good about that one.
That one was fun. And it's the game probably where the offense has been the sharpest, right? Even though you had a couple of those kind of weird turnovers in that game.
Weird, yeah.
But it kind of felt like everything was clicking that night.
Yeah, and it shouldn't even have been as close as it was because you mentioned the turnovers. It should have been a blowout, but we had, I think, 3 turnovers and we managed to overcome them.
Yeah. All right, let's get you one more. This one comes from Will P, and I think a lot of people are going to be very interested in this answer. When will you make a decision about next season, and who will be involved in helping you make that decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. I won't make the decision till probably I'm gonna wait till the season's over and I've got some time to think and reflect on everything. Because right now I'm just focused on trying to win Bedlam and then beat Texas Tech next week, and then focus on the bowl game as well. But it's definitely been thinking about it, and in terms of who will help make the decision, just my family, talking to them, confiding in them, and I mean my dad knows a lot about football and even the next level, so just talking to him and asking him what's best, and talking to my coaches and what they think's best for me will be big, and we'll just have to see. There's pros and cons to both sides, and so at the end of the day, we'll see, and then I'll let you know.
You got a lot of football left before you have to make that decision. But whatever it is, man, you've had a great career here at Oklahoma. I know you're not done yet, but clearly whatever you and your family decides best for you, I think everybody will understand, respect, and appreciate that decision. Drake, it's always a pleasure, man. Fired up for tomorrow night. Best of luck out there. Stay warm and stay ready, man. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you. See you soon.
Right. There you go. Drake Stoops joins us for this edition of Strengthening Oklahoma. Now it's time for me and my man Gabe to break it down. The breakdown brought to you by the Oklahoma Proton Center. It's one of the top cancer centers in the region using state-of-the-art proton therapy. Oklahoma Proton Center, more than a cure, quality of life. Love talking to Drake Stoops. It makes me feel old every time I see him, every time I talk to him. I always just think about him and his brother. Little babies running around back in the day. As I get older and older by the day, he touched on a couple things. I want to have some fun before we break down this game in particular. I believe he referenced the 2012 year would have been the Brennan Clay touchdown.
Correct.
And then I believe he referenced the 2013 game that was, you want to talk about cold. I was doing then what you're doing now on the sideline. That might have been, if not the coldest, one of the top 3 coldest games that I've ever done on the sideline at OU. Wasn't that like where there was a sheet of ice over the field before the game? That was like crazy frigid temperatures, right?
It was insanely cold.
Yes.
And a lot of people will tell you that's the coldest football game they've ever been to.
It was cold.
Awful.
Cold.
Awful.
I still don't know that game in particular. That's one of the, as a rivalry, there's been some crazy outcomes. You guys weren't supposed to win that game. You were picked to lose. And I believe, if memory serves, I don't know, I haven't pulled up in front of me. Was it a honeycut fake field goal? It was one of the touchdowns.
Grant Bothan to Michael Honeycutt for a touchdown.
Okay.
Where he got blasted in the end zone.
And I was right there with Plank, right there when he goes in. Plank gave it the touchdown, and I think I was pretty fired up myself. And then I think, didn't Jalen return a punt as well for a touchdown?
Jalen was pivotal to that win in Stillwater.
There was 2 special teams touchdowns. You guys didn't do anything. And if memory serves, again, going off of trying to really dig in the annals here, it was Kendall Thompson who actually started the game, right? No, he came in the second
Trevor
half.
Knight started the game, got
and
hurt.
then Kendall Thompson came in.
He
didn't do what Josh wanted. He got pulled immediately.
I told him not to throw the post, so of course he threw the post. It got intercepted right away.
And then Blake comes in, and he administers the only legitimate drive you guys have the entire game, and it's when you had to have it back against the wall, go down and score, or you lose, and the belldozer deliver. Man, that's one of my favorite Bedlam games as well. That was an insane game.
And there was a Justin Gilbert dropped interception in that sequence. They would have
won the Big 12.
Yeah, it was a fun win. It was fun.
Wow.
And for me, there was a little on the line because earlier in the week in the press conference, I'd said all these complimentary things about Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. And the question was like, are they still Oklahoma's little brother? And I was like, no, man. I mean, they've got a great program, all these great players. Coach Gundy's one of the best in the country. And then I said, but we're still Oklahoma. And that's all they took and printed it in the paper, and everyone was talking about it. So we won that game, and all I tweeted was, we're still Oklahoma.
And then the next
year,
felt
good.
I bet. Then the next year was the Tyreek Hill repunt game.
I was at that game because I blew my knee out. I was on IR, and I was up in a suite on the east side of the stadium screaming, "Do not punt it again."
Yeah,
I was screaming, trying to scream through the glass like the players would be able to hear me.
I'd like to go back and listen to the radio broadcast. I'm pretty sure I might have jumped in and said, "Why are we punting again? Why are they punting again? What's going on?" And then that guy Tyreek Hill, he's pretty good. He's pretty fast. I have a lot of my first 2 Bedlam experiences didn't go well. 2001. It's funny. I talked with Mike Gundy this week in preparation for the game. His favorite all-time Bedlam memory was my freshman year when they came into Norman and beat Oklahoma. I think it was 16-13, Fields to Woods. He even remembered he was the offensive coordinator. Remember the play call, everything. And I was like, he was telling the story. I was like, yeah, I was a freshman on that team. Didn't feel so good on this end. And then the next year in 2002, we went up there and they kicked our teeth in Stillwater. And the 2001 game, by the way, they had the Big 12 South Trophy on the sideline ready to present it to us, like right there. Like the presenters were there. We were going to go play Colorado in the Big 12 title game the next week, and we lost. And then they beat us in Stillwater the next year. And then 2003 was one of my favorite games in Norman, 52-9. Oklahoma State had a good team. Les Miles gave the let her rip, and one team did let her rip. But I'll say this: I know the record. It's obviously a massive advantage to Oklahoma. It was like 90-19 or something, very, very skewed to Oklahoma side. But especially in the last 12 years or so, I think Oklahoma State last year won their 3rd game in the last 12 years. But the games have been much more competitive. Oklahoma State is not the same program they were for all those years. And this is a legitimate rivalry. I challenge anybody that says it's not. I know it's more the Oklahoma fans love to say, "Oh, it's not a rivalry. We just own them." Traditionally, the history of the rivalry, yes, it's been very one-sided. And from a win standpoint, it has been even as of late. But Oklahoma State, man, you've got to respect where this program's at. You don't have to like your rival, but you darn sure better respect them. And I think what Mike Gundy's done with that program, where that football team is year in, year out in the Big 12, typically always knocking on the door of 8 to 10 wins, they should have gained the respect of most Sooner fans. And I think they've definitely gained the respect of the Sooner football team.
No, there's no doubt. I think that what Mike Gundy's done in Stillwater is one of the better coaching jobs we've ever seen in college football. What he's been able to build there, it's extremely impressive. And while Oklahoma's having a disappointing season and Oklahoma State was off to a really exciting start, and then Spencer Sanders, some issues there, a lot of injuries, and it's kind of hasn't quite fallen off a cliff, but it's certainly been on a heavy decline this season for the Cowboys. Game still means a lot, man. It still means a lot. There's a lot on the line. There's a trophy on the line, like Drake said. So I just can't get on board with anyone that doesn't think this isn't a rivalry, or that doesn't think this is a rivalry and doesn't think this game matters this year. I cannot get on board with that. And it's going to be, Oklahoma's going to have to play well to win. I know that they're going to have to put it all together, because Oklahoma State with Spencer Sanders is a much different football team, much more confident football team. And with him saying, yeah, I'm ready to rock here in Bedlam, they're going to come in here thinking they're going to win the football game.
No doubt. And they're going to fight. They're tough. That's what they do under Mike Gundy. And Spencer Sanders and what he did against Iowa State is kind of the epitome of who that program is. I'll say this. I would argue this game means more for Oklahoma, this program, this staff, than or as much as Bedlam has meant in a long time. Like, we know what happened in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, you got embarrassed by one of your rivals, and now you get a chance to become – and bowl eligibility matters, dude. Like, if for nothing else, the 15 practices and the continued development of this roster. And, like, I think of that as, you know, really the prize, even more so than the game itself. Going that week is great for the kids, and, you know, kind of a end of the year, like a bonus to the season, and, you know, a way to have some fun and play against other team. But man, those 15 practices, especially like the first 10 before you start getting game specific, I mean, that's essentially spring football, and a lot of scrimmages, a lot of good on good as far as the young guys go. A lot of development takes place, and they need that right now. Like, they need to develop some of these young players that were part of this past recruiting class. So, like, I just think that getting and again, I'll tell you, the last time Oklahoma didn't go to a bowl game was before Bob Stoops got here in 1998. Since Bob Stoops got here in 1999, been to a bowl game every single year. That matters. Like, it matters. I was texting with some former players and other coaches around the country this week. It matters that Oklahoma is in the postseason. If you're Oklahoma, you don't want to have to, you don't want to have to win in Lubbock, which is weird. Crazy things happen. It's also a pretty good football team. You want to do it at home against your rivals. So, like, I would just push back and say, because of what happened already against Texas, the fact that it does make you bowl eligible, to end with some positive momentum, it's a massive game for Oklahoma, and it's a massive game for Coach Venables and his staff. As it relates to the game specifically offensively, you're going to get a steady growth of Eric Gray. I think that anyone knows that. This offensive line, you should be really proud. I think, Gabe, the O-line is playing in the run game as well as I've seen them play all year. They're starting to stack up really good performances, getting good movement, really doing a nice job with the GT counter. I mean, that's really hitting hard. And the big reason why is Eric Gray. You know, I think he's hitting it up in the hole, and he's always been able to make that second and third defender miss. But I think he's hitting it better now with good vision, and he's just having a lot of success. But I think the offensive line deserves a lot of credit. You're going to get a steady dose of that. But I really do think that in this game and moving forward this season for Oklahoma, they got to have more chunk plays in the throw game. That's been one thing that when you really analyze and look at the tape, they've been very inconsistent in that element of this offense. And if you've ever watched this offense, whether it's at Baylor, or it's at Ole Miss, or it's at Arkansas, or it's at Tennessee right now, it's predicated on a physical rushing attack and chunk throws in the passing game. And that aspect has been very spotty and very inconsistent. I think that's an area they could improve on, and they need to improve on starting this week.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Oklahoma State defensively, the two guys that, and maybe pick on is not the best way to put it, but the two guys I think you can attack are Corey Black and Cam Smith. It's easy to remember 2 and 3.
Yep.
And those guys, they've given up some big plays this season. And, you know, Drake talked about their willingness to play some more man coverage. If they end up going that route, you got to make them pay for it. And I think that not only is it the big chunk plays, you know, pushing it down the field, but it would be nice to see, you know, a guy like Jalil Farouk or Marvin Mims catch some more stuff in the intermediate area of the field and then just be able to run away from these guys after the catch. You know, some of these drag routes, some of these slants, stuff like that. And that usually comes off Levy's RPO game when we're talking about those throws. So not only can they get big chunk plays, you know, just pushing it down the field, verticals, posts, that type of stuff. I do think there are opportunities to get the ball into these guys' hands in the intermediate passing game and then let them go be athletes after the catch.
Totally with you, man. I'm totally with you. And I think it's fair to say, you know, Dylan, I'll continue to say with Dylan Gabriel, he has not been bad, but he hasn't just necessarily gone and won a game for him. You know what I mean? Like he's been good, but he hasn't been elite. And, you know, this would be a good opportunity to go win a game for Oklahoma. Because I think that there's going to be some opportunities, like you mentioned, there for him. Now, it's also a defense coming off that just had 5 takeaways. So you clearly have to be careful with the football. I do think when Colin Oliver's matched up on Anton Harrison, that's going to be get your popcorn ready stuff when it's passing situations, because 30 for Oklahoma State, he's got a great get off. He is relentless to the football. And Anton Harrison's playing about as well as any offensive lineman in the Big 12 and in college football. So that's going to be fun.
If I was Oklahoma State, I would put Colin Oliver on the other side.
I would too. I'd
put him over Wanye Morris and see if Wanye can handle the get off and the speed.
I would too.
I would put Brock Martin over Anton Harrison and see if Anton can anchor and handle Martin's physicality. Like that's what I would do. But guess what? They haven't asked me, Dusty, so who knows what they'll do.
They move those guys around a little bit. So yeah, I think at times we'll see a little bit of both.
Kind of float them in the middle of the defense there, like a spinner look. They do a lot of stuff that they did last year under Jim Knowles, right? There's been a tremendous amount of carryover. And I'll say this. I know statistically their defense isn't great, but as I watch them, like they're better than I want them to be.
They're good.
And they're really physical at the line of scrimmage. Very
Last
physical.
point.
Those guys haven't made enough plays, but it's not like they are just getting blown off the football. They've missed a lot of tackles in the secondary, but it's not an awful defense.
No.
It's not nearly as bad as I wanted it to be when I turned the tape on.
Mason Cobb, he's limited athletically. He's a good linebacker. He's always where he's supposed to be. And the one thing they do exceptionally well, they get off the field on third down. They're 9th in the country in third down defense, 9th. And Oklahoma's 96th. So, and the one thing, like, if, you know, with Oklahoma, third down offense, that to me, that's going to be one of the stories of the game. Third downs on both sides of the ball. Because last week, Oklahoma was 1 for 11 on third down, and they were 10 of 15 against Baylor. They were good against Iowa State, but they've also been bad in spurts. So, you know, extending drives, moving the chains, helping out their defense, it's going to be critical. And that's where Oklahoma State has been at their absolute best this season. So it's going to be fun, man. We could sit here and spend hours discussing and previewing this game. It is Bedlam. It's coming up tomorrow night, and man, it's going to be a lot of fun. Gabe, Teddy, and Toby will have the call for you on the radio, as all you guys already know. Myself, Dave Pash, Tom Luganville will have the call on ABC 6:30 in prime time. Can't wait to see you all at the Palace. Big thanks to Muse Growth Strategies for continuing to help us spread the word about strengthening Oklahoma. Reminder to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also check out our website, strengtheningok.com, where you can watch all these interviews and also subscribe and support these great athletes. For all of our subscribers, our supporters, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we'll see you again next time right here on Strengthening Oklahoma.